Hi everybody and welcome to the studio. Welcome back to Color Theory. This is Violet swatching. If somebody can give me a heads up over in the comment section, just to let me know that you can hear me just fine and that I'm broadcasting properly. I have a new camera set up and some new lighting here, so it's all a work in progress and we'll see how this goes. But I definitely want to make sure that my microphone is working and that everybody can hear me just fine. All right, so while I'm waiting for that confirmation, because there is a slight delay there, this is episode, this is episode 9. Yep, everybody says they can hear me just fine. So this is episode 9 of the Color Theory series. Today we're working on Violet, but if you're joining us for the very first time, don't worry about it. You don't have to watch these in order. We go evens and odds, so on the odd episodes, we swatch markers, and then on the even episode that follows that, then we do the coloring. So you could go back and watch yellow right now after you've done the violet, or you could do blue first. It doesn't matter. I have structured these to go in order from easy to harder, but that doesn't mean that you can't sit in on today's episode just because you haven't seen the other ones. So welcome to everybody, and let's get to moving. Okay, so we have some supplies that we are working with. So let me switch to the overhead right there. Oop, that's a side-by-side, not an inset. Yep, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. There, let's try that. There we go. There's my little dot up in the top area. Like I said, this is new stuff. So I'm trying to upgrade so that it makes a better stream for everybody. All right, so we are working with a color wheel, and I have printed off some iris that we will be swatching for these iris today, but we'll actually be coloring them next week. So I am working, the supplies here are found in the summer 2023 kit. There is a spring kit as well. Each one covers 3 months. So what's in this kit is for June, so the blue forget-me-nots that we did last month, this month's iris, which is violet, and then in August we will be working on red, and that will be with a rosebud. So that is all in the summer 2023 kit. And also in the kit is a worksheet that you can work on today. I know people like to see that photo reference. So in the worksheet, it has the photo reference up at top, and then it has the colors that I'm searching for down below, and then a little space for you to mess around with the markers and try and decide which ones are you going to use to match that color that I'm also searching for. And then in every kit is that color wheel that you see that I've printed right here. So that is the kit. And once you've colored these iris right here, I do have available over at my digital stamp area, that is sketchgarden.com. I have royal iris, and actually when I originally drew the royal iris, it had 3 blossoms, and that third blossom that I never used in the original digital stamp is the one that's right here. So once you practice on these guys, then you can move over there and color the frameable version with the royal iris digital stamp. So that's available over at sketchgarden.com. All right, so our photo reference here is this one. Now, I drew these guys a long time ago, so I have lost the original photo reference that went with the royal iris. So that photo reference, have no idea where it went. So I went searching for something that was similar. It's the same species, so we're making do with what we have. All right, so we will have that up in the corner, but also as we're matching our colors, I have taken that original photo and I've just kind of like, I cropped in on just the top petals. So that's going to give us our lighter violet combination. And then I also cropped in on, where is it? There we go, on the lower petal, and that is the darker violets that we're going to be looking for. Now they're all related. They should all be in the same family. They should all run one into the other because they're all part of the same flower. But we definitely need a combination that has at least 3 dark ones and 3 lighter ones. And well, frankly, Copic doesn't make this easy on us. So yeah, gonna be some problems today. Let's talk about the paper though before we get too far. So the paper right here that I am working on and that I will be swatching on, here's the back side. I always mark things down in the corner. So Strathmore 300 Bristol Smooth Finish. I recommend this for the intermediates and the advanced. If you are a beginner, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Express It Blending Card is a self-blending paper. It actually, you put down enough ink and then it smooths while you're off coloring another section. It's a self-smoothing paper. So that's why I really recommend it for beginners. It makes it easy, but also if I do nothing else, but if I just take away your bad paper and slide Express It underneath your hands, it will immediately improve your coloring. I just cannot express that enough. Express it. Okay, so that's what I recommend for beginners. And no matter what paper you're working on, always swatch on the same paper that you intend to color. So my swatching paper here matches my iris paper here. It does you no good to swatch on a different brand of paper, a different style of paper, because Copic ink looks different on different types of paper. So if you're swatching to match color and it matches on that cheap office paper, it might not match on the Express It. So you need to use the same exact paper that you intend to color on. And I know that that feels expensive and wasteful for people because, well, you're just swatching. So why not use some scrap paper? But it's not the same. And so what I do is, like here with my 4 iris, there's a gap down here at the bottom. So I will cut that off and I will save that. And I've got a drawer of scraps. So anytime I go to swatch, now today I'm swatching on a nice half sheet of paper, but normally I'm swatching on these weird little, well, here's one right here, for example. So it's just a long piece of paper and I'll probably hack a few pieces off, and I always mark them in the bottom corner. So this is another piece of that Strathmore 300. This one just happens to be too long to fit in my drawer, but it is a scrap that I cut off of another finished project. And I save these little pieces so that I can swatch on them. So here I was swatching on a few little watercolor bits there. So yep, I save all those little bits. That way I'm always sure that I'm swatching on the same thing that I'm actually coloring on in the long run. All right, so let's go ahead and, well, let's look at our color wheel, because we are working in the violet section. And I kind of hinted that Copic is making this month incredibly hard on us. I chose the iris because I thought, yeah, let's do violet. And then I chose a photo because I thought, yeah, that's the same species of violet, or of iris that I had originally drawn. And then like 3 weeks later, because I have to do this ahead of time, like 3 weeks later, I'm looking at that photo reference and I'm like, what have I done to myself? Because there is this dead zone in Copic where they just don't make the colors that we need to color violet objects. And somebody watching this might say, well, okay, why don't you switch to Olo or Ohuhu, or just add those violet markers back in? I think there's something going on with violet ink chemically, because if you look at other brands, they don't have a lot of violets either. Now, I haven't gone through other brands to see, do they have the specific color that I might use? So maybe at some point I might be adding some other different brands to my Copic collection just to fill in some of those holes. But I think there's something chemically with violet ink that either it's super not light fast, or maybe there's just not enough of those inks available. Copic ink is actually made with dyes, so we're talking about dyes here. Maybe there aren't just a lot of violet dyes, or maybe there could be something going on with the solvent, because the way a Copic marker works is that you start with a dark marker. So let me pull over some violets here. I just have these sitting off to the side. All right, so you start with a dark marker in Copic, and this is a V17. It's the darkest of the teen family. And then they add a little bit of colorless blender to it, and that makes a lighter violet, which then they name with a smaller number. So this is V17, and it's darker than V15. And then they add a little bit more colorless blender to the next one, and that color measures out to about a 2. And so they name that one V12. So all three of these markers are the same dye base. They just have different amounts of solvent in it. This one has the most dye. This one has the most solvent to it. And it could be a case like once you get to a certain ratio of dye to solvent, it just doesn't work anymore. Like maybe one of the color goes funky, or it's not shelf stable anymore. There's something weird going on with violet, because people love purple. I mean, when you're a purple person, you dress in purple, you decorate in purple, you're going to buy the purple markers. So I don't see any other reason why Copic wouldn't be offering us a ton of purples. They already give us a lot of pinks because they know pink people are mad for pink. Why aren't they doing it with violet? And I just think there's something going on there chemistry-wise. So there's just some holes in there. They don't make a lot of V markers. And as a matter of fact, if you start looking through your Copic collection, and let me give you a picture of what I keep pointing to off to the side is my Copic collection over here. So if you just look at the number of markers that they make, when you look at that, my violets are in the right-hand side, all the way in the right-hand corner in the third row. It's just a really small section of color. They don't make a lot of violet markers. So that makes it really hard to color objects like our iris here. And I was just like, what did I do to myself? I issued myself a challenge that I may not be able to fulfill. But that actually works into one of our tips here, because I'm going to just shoot for the general feeling of violet. You do not have to match the color of the photo reference precisely, because when you're handing somebody a card or you're handing somebody a framed piece of art, you're not handing them the photo reference at the same time, right? So if we nail the values and we nail the saturation, which means the grayness or the murkiness of that color, if we nail the value and the saturation, it's still going to look like that iris up in the corner, even though the colors aren't an exact match. So we'll see what Copic has available here today. I've not rehearsed this or anything. The only thing I did was I pulled my V markers out just because I don't like all the click-clacking on camera. All right, so I've got these V markers sitting out here, but you know what? I think first let's do that color tour. So let's just kind of give ourselves an idea of what we're searching for. So let me get rid of that tip there. And I'm just going to bring this up, and we are looking at the same photo there, but I'm just giving myself a color tour, observing what's going on there. And immediately what I noticed, and this is what we're going to talk about next, is, and it's not really relaying on camera here, but if you've downloaded the original photo reference here from Pixabay, the link is down in the description, but it's not showing up on camera right there, but it does show in that little photo over there. If you look at this area right here, there's a strong area of purple right here. And then there's a stronger area of violet over here. So we've got two different colors going on there. You just need to observe that and make note of it, because that may be something that we're going to tackle later. Personally, when I see like a little hint of that, I like to do that in colored pencil. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And as a matter of fact, we could probably just pull out the process red pencil, because I know that process will work with the colored pencil. Over here, I don't see as much of that purple color. I just see a lot of really dark stuff here, so we need some underpainting going on there to get that little fold in there, because see how this is pulled forward and then this one is pushed back. So the color in here, this is that saturation that I was talking about, the murkiness of the color. The color that is going on right here is not a nice, clean, let's say V17. It's V17 with something yucky in there, and that's what makes it look like that petal is folded. So we're going to need some underpainting for this. I also see in these kind of almost like zebra stripes, we've got some yellow coming from this. See how there's like this glow going on in there? Well, that glowy yellow color is like feeding down in here, and it's giving us that that murky, weird color going on in here inside these stripes. So yeah, that's something that we're going to have to be aware of. And then there's a big value difference between the level of color that we see down here at the bottom and then these top petals, several steps lighter. So I'm very confident. Like I had told some people that I was a little bit nervous about coloring this because I really am. I hate doing things live because if you fail, then you're live on camera. But what was really making me nervous is I know I can do that. I can do that easy. The problem is, can I get a blending combination that gives me these super darks, but then also effortlessly transitions into these violets up here. And the reason why that makes me nervous is because Copic does not make good light violets. So I've used a couple terms here. Let's talk about that a little bit more. And I'm sorry if this episode is a little bit more talky than coloring, but it's just something that, you know, there's a lot to cover here. So let's talk about, I often hear students talk about violet and purple as if they are the same exact color. I'm coloring that purple, or I'm coloring that violet. They're two different colors. And I know that Copic makes that confusing because they take this tiny little V family of markers and they fill it with both P's and violet. They don't make a P family for purple. It's all squished into that violet thing. So what's the difference between violet and purple? Well, if you're looking down there at the bottom of the color wheel, this is the kind of the area that we're at. See, there's that B color, and here's that V color, and then here's that other V color, and then we're over towards the magenta there. This is that section of the color wheel that we're dealing with. Okay, so primary colors on our color wheel are yellow, and then cyan, and magenta. That's a CMY wheel. And I've kind of got the blue there. But to make violet or purple, you're mixing the cyan or the blue with magenta. All right, so if you start with blue and you add a little bit of magenta to it, it's going to make violet. If you add a little bit more magenta to it, it's going to make purple. You can also go the other direction, where if you start with magenta and you add a little bit of blue to it, you're going to make purple. And then you add a little bit more blue to it, you're going to make violet. So the difference between violet and purple is that the violet leans towards blue. I should lean that direction. Violet leans towards blue. And then the purple leans towards magenta. So they're two different colors, but because it's not a big area of the rainbow, and it's just, you know, your kindergarten teacher probably confused you too. But I'm going to be really specific, because let's look at the bottom little blow up of that petal there. I see purple there and I see violet there in two separate sections. So we need to cover both families. So I'm going to be really specific when we go to color next week that I'm coloring this area purple or I'm coloring this area violet, because they're not the same color. So just keep that in mind. Now, Copic doesn't make a lot of violets, so they made this hard by not giving us a lot of V markers in general. But the other thing is that they don't do light violet well. So we're going to just start swatching to figure out what colors we might be able to use for the the iris, but we're also just gonna, you know, take a survey of what's going on in the violet family. So let's eliminate the oddball right away. The oddball is the V90 family. So we've got V99 here on the bottom, V95, and then V93 and V91. And I'm gonna classify these as purple, but just barely. These are so weird. I put that color down. That's the V99. Here's the V95. I mean, these are mauve. And to me, mauve belongs over in the RV family. These are dusty. These are dirty. These are not the colors we need to be. I mean, it's just not in there. So we are just eliminating the V90s. That's 4 markers. They don't make many to begin with, and we are already down 4 markers. So let me put these guys out of the way because there's just no way we're using these guys. All right, what is another family that we can look at? Well, let's start back at the beginning. So we've got the V0s, and here these guys are. So it starts all the way up. It's easier to go dark to light. All right, so we've got the V09, V06, and you can't go by the cap colors because the cap colors are a little bit weird. V06, V05, then V04, and then V01. And then there's some sub-zeros. So I've got V quad 0 and a double 0. Is there a 2 zeros? If there is a VOO, I've lost it. I need to look at a marker chart to see, because normally there is a double 0, but they don't always have a double 0. Anyway, okay, so here's the V0 family. So we're starting out pretty good. That's a nice little grape color. The V06, this is how you know you're dealing with a purple, because whoa, does that lean pink. And then as we get lighter, they just go pinker and pinker. That's V04 there, right there. V01. Oh, good grief. That could be an RV marker. And then we know these guys are light. So, darn it, Copic. We started out in the purple family, which I could handle. But then all of a sudden, we've gone pink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't use them because I don't see them over there in my iris. So, oh, Heidi is confirming. There is no VOO. I knew there was a couple of, I think there's 2 families that don't have a 00. It's good to know that I didn't lose a marker though. You know how that can be where you just rearrange your markers so often that you all of a sudden. I had one of those. I had like a red that fell behind a desk, and it was like a pinky red. And I think it was like it was R01 was behind my desk for like a solid year, and I never noticed it. So yeah, V00 could be behind the desk there for all I know. All right, so we can't use the V0s. I don't mind the darkest there, the V09, so I think I might I'll pull that one out, and I'll leave it here in reserve that maybe if I need that dark color, but I don't know. Can we do better? Because I really do feel like that one, I mean, this is like borderline between purple and violet. It could lean either way, especially if I put some cool markers underneath it. Well, I'll just keep it here and maybe we'll use that. All right, so that was the V0s. So we've eliminated a whole bunch of colors here. And to be perfectly honest, we only have 7 markers left to deal with. We got the V-teens, so that is V17, V15, and V12, and we have the V20s. So if it ain't here, this is what I was nervous about. All right, so let's just go ahead with the V-teens. So here's that V17. I like that. I can totally see that working over there. Yeah. And I like that better than the V09. Maybe the V09 could be a darker one. But I like that. Yeah, I like this V17. All right, so V17, putting a number next to it just so that I can remember it. And now we've gone pink again. See how pink these colors are getting? Oh my goodness. And there's the V12. So here's V15 and V12. And V12 could also be, that could double over into the RV family. If I gave you a blind taste test where I just put a swatch of this down and handed it to you, I bet you most people would say that that was a pink. Not there. Not there. So I've got V17. All right, I've just eliminated 2 markers, but we may have found 1 marker. All right, so there's one last family left. Feeling a little bit desperate? I'm feeling desperate. So the next ones are the V20 family. And I actually use these a lot. And I know the problem. I know that these are not going to work. And it's right there. I mean, can you tell? What do you think the problem is with this family? That was V25. Here's V22, which is a pretty color. And then here's the V20. These colors are muted. You know how sometimes you get up into the 90s and you're thinking that those colors start to look dirty? Well, in the violet family, it's the 20s. So that's why I always say that you can't say that the zeros are always bright and the teens are always one flavor and the 20s are, there's no rhyme or pattern there for the number groups, because this right here is an exception. Most people say that, you know, the 90s are weird. Well, yeah, that V90 is weird, but so are these V20s. So this one is V20, and these are just too gray. I could color the iris in these colors, and I guess I wouldn't object to anyone doing it. But they're kind of funeral colors, if that makes sense. It's not going to make a bright and happy flower, because look at how grayed and depressing that V28 is. That's not a flower color that I really want to work with. So I'm just, no, not that V28. That is just no, not going to work. If I'm doing flowers, I want it to have a happy feeling to it. Now this V25 here doesn't stink. All right, so let me pull up, because really I'm feeling like these are the last choices that we have available here. All right, get rid of that, and let me pull this up. And oh no, I'm looking at that V22 and the V20 and the top color. It's the color of the top petals. All right, I could do it if the saturation is wrong. These are two grays. They're too gray. If I had the value, they're not bad values there, but it's just ugh. And this is why I hesitate. There's like I've got one photo reference of like a bouquet of violets that I have never taught it because I can't find the markers to use for it. And it's the same exact problem. It's the same exact colors that are over there. All right, so let's start to get creative here. All right, so the V09 didn't stink. The V17, I kind of liked that. I do not like how this is purple, and then this one goes really cool. So this one is violet, and I do not like that together. So no. Okay, so the V09 is out now. I'm running out of markers, guys. All right, so let's do the V17 into that V25, which I didn't mind too bad. It's a little gray. How do I feel about that? Just so you know, this is 17 into 25. It's not terrible. The 17 is warmer. The 25 is grayer. But we're desperate now. All right, so I got two markers that I don't totally hate. I don't love them, but I don't totally hate them. So Heidi is asking about, and it's a good question, could the V04, which is right here, this one is the V04, so that is 04. Could this work for the purple portion? It could. I just think it's, you know what, this other one here, the 06 could also work for the purple portion. And that is a thought, but you know, I tend to do things with the pencil and the Copic together. So I'm really thinking what I want is just a solid violet blending combination. And then instead of messing up the blend, I will just add a colored pencil over the top of it. That was my plan kind of when I looked at it going into it. It was my first instinct. I can play around and see, but I really did plan to put the purple in there with the colored pencil, but it's not a bad idea. And if you're going to do it, I would do it with either the 06 or the 04, but I would test both of those. Maybe the 06, because the 04 is going to have some solvent in it. And so the 04 could possibly eat away at the V25. Let me just see what those two do, how they interact. Okay, so here's the V04, and I'm just going to run a stripe over the top of it. It's the right color. The question is, how much of the V17 is it going to eat away? It's kind of leaving some little rings around the edge. Let me just see what the 06 does. I feel like I'm getting sidetracked, but oh, they look the same, and actually the 06 looks pinker. So maybe I would do the 04 if I were to do that, but I think it's safer. It's so much safer to do it with the colored pencil. And I don't really feel compelled that I absolutely have to do everything with Copic markers. All right, so I've got two markers and they're not nearly light enough, so I'm looking at the BV family now, because I think we're just going to have to go on a wandering trip to try and find something. I mucked up my blending combination to mess with. So there's that 17 again. Here's the 25. And now I need something. This is the 17. This is the 25. And I need something for right here. I need something for right there and something for right there. So I'm looking for 3 more colors, which means I'm probably down in the sub-zeros. Will the 11 work? Well, those look like the same color. Where's that B? All right, this is, all right. In unexpected news, twin markers, BV02, no, BV11 and V25. I guess they look a little different there, but right there side by side, they look pretty much the same, but it's still got that gray flavor. I don't know that I love that. All right, so it's got to end in less than a 5. 13. Nope, that is way too blue. So this is BV11 and this is BV, what was that? 13. The 13 is too blue. The BV11 doesn't stink, but we're getting a depressing flower again. All right, so it's got to be less than 5. Here's BV04. No, too dark. BV04 is too dark. Let's try BV02. I'm iffy. It's a happy color. The ones ending, or the ones that start with 0 tend to be brighter in every family. I don't mind this. All right, so this one is going to be I cannot write today, guys. BV02. So that means I'm looking at BV01, 00. That's pretty close. Let's try the BV00. Ooh, okay. Okay, I'm liking this. Oh, now we're in the right family. Look at that. Yep. Okay. It's a little grayer, but that's got some potential. See? I don't hate this. Okay. So that's BV00, BV02. So let's try one more. And I tend to skip numbers. So if this is a 00, write this down before. I would never use a BV00 next to a BV01 or a BV000. I tend to skip every other one. So let's try the quad, and that's what this is, the quad 0. I think I can use that. Yep. Okay. So that's 4 zeros. And I think this is going to be my blending combination. All right, I can breathe a sigh of relief because I think it's not exactly the same, but it'll work. Let's put that next to the dark end there. And actually there, Heidi's idea of the BV0 or the V04 kind of gets us into that family. Let me try though, just so you can see what I was originally envisioning. And there's no right or wrong answer. Like we can do this multiple ways. I need the pink family. Where's that processed red? The little one, because I use this color a lot, which is why I kind of knew that this would work. So if I take that processed red and I put it over the top of these guys, and it kind of gives it that same flavor that the 04, I mean, it's really close to it's actually closer to the 06. Yeah, because it's pinker. The 04 was a little bit more purpley. But that to me feels like that could work. That was my original plan, but I would not turn my nose up if somebody decided to go with the 04, because that's not a bad idea if you want to do it all 100% in marker. But I always feel like I have more control over those pencils than I do with the Copics. All right, so in my pencil stash here, I got the white because, you know, there's always going to be white in something, especially with those zebra stripes going on. And I'm going to put the processed red in there. So that'll be part of my selection. All right, so I've got those violets in there, and now it's time to find an underpaint for it. And here is the triple whammy. All right, so first, Copic didn't give us very many V's to begin with. And then we've got that weird thing where the V family is going good and then it turns pink. So that was the second whammy. Here's the third problem, is that when you look across the color wheel from our violet, we're looking at yellow. And that makes sense because when we did the daffodil, we put V12 underneath the yellow to make this shady yellow. Well, yellow ink is a problem universally across all marker brands and across any paint as well, because there's not a lot of yellow in yellow. So what I mean by that, and I pulled out a Copic ink here to show you, but also I just pulled out, I've got some Ranger products here that are also yellow. So what is this? This is Dilutions Pure Sunshine. But for being Pure Sunshine, look at the color. If I stir that around there, look at how deep. It's like almost brown, and you really notice it in the Distress inks, or actually any yellow ink pad. When you open up those ink pads, it doesn't look yellow, does it? What you're getting when you get a yellow marker is yellow dye with a ton of colorless blender thrown in there. And that's what makes it that pretty yellow color. And you get hints of that when you look at the ink just by itself in a bottle. You see that this, like, you know, if I just handed this to you and said what color of ink that is, you might guess that that was orange or one of the brown colors, because there's just not a lot of ink in yellow to make it work. So watch what happens. I am going to choose the darkest Y19. So here's that Y19, and we're going to put it under our V17, and the yellow just can't stand up to the color. And then the other thing is, because the yellow has so much solvent in it, it's just going to sit there, and as it tends to age, I mean, you could do this right now. Put down some V19 and then put some, Y19, and then put some V17 over the top of it. As you're just sitting there right now, just experiment with it just to see what happens, because it's not showing up on camera all that well right now. But what happens is, as that yellow solvent, the solvent that's in this marker, as it starts to sit there, it starts to eat away at the violet. And so now, like when I first do it, in the first couple of seconds, it looks like shady violet. Right there, it looks like it could shade violet, and then almost immediately the yellow starts to glow because the solvent is taking over and it's eating away at the color. So I've tried to put down the yellow and then let it sit there for 10 minutes or so, and then putting the violet over the top, and it screams. But plus, if you think about it, we're trying to shade with sunshine. That doesn't work. And we had a similar problem last month when we did the blue with the orange underneath. The orange just kind of screams at you. And the yellow, this time, it's the yellow, the solvent in the yellow, and then just, the yellowness of it. But if you were to actually be watercoloring, you could I do it all the time. I have dioxazine purple, and I mix Hansa yellow into it, and it makes shady violet. As a matter of fact, when I go to make the coloring video for next week, I will demonstrate how it does work with watercolor. You can do yellow and violet easily. So when the direct complement doesn't work, and this is just one of those things this is why this is color theory for markers, because the color theory isn't wrong. The markers, the ingredients, the dyes, it just doesn't always work the way we want it to. So when that direct complement doesn't work, you're free to start wandering, and you can go several steps in this direction, or you could go several steps in this direction and use an indirect complement. So directly across the wheel from our V17 is yellow, and you can go a couple steps this way, or you can go a couple steps this way, and these guys here are indirect. This one's the direct complement. Anything in this range will work, but we already demonstrated last month that orange doesn't work. So I really don't want to go this direction, because I'm going to run into more of the same yellow trouble. And honestly, I'm feeling so burned by the yellow right there that I'm not sure I want to deal with the yellow greens either. So let's go shopping for a green. And actually, it's just hitting me right now, because I'm making this decision on the fly, that as I'm looking up there at the photo reference, this is kind of what I do anyway. Green would be a logical choice, because there's a green stem, there's green leaves. The green is already there in the plant, but then look at the background of that particular photo reference. There's a ton of green there. So green is a logical color to put underneath our purple, because, it's all kind of interrelated. It all feels like it belongs together. So let's get rid of the yellow. Actually, we do need a couple of yellows for the beards on the iris. So you could use any two yellows, I think. I think this Y19 is a little too orange, but maybe I could do Y17 as my darker yellow, and then like Y15 or Y13. That would work. You could go with a Y08 and then like maybe a Y04. That's a little lemony. Maybe go darker with the Y06. Y04 looks a little light, but when we go to color those, the yellow parts of the leaves or of the petals, the beards, you can pick any yellow combination that you want, whatever you have in your collection, because it's a minor thing. It's not going to take up a lot of space. So use whatever yellows you want on there. I'm using this violet combination, and now I need to find a green that's going to sit underneath the V25 probably, and the V17. I think that's what let's just test the V17. So let's find a green that goes underneath the V17, which means that we're looking for something that ends in just a little bit less than a 7. All right, so if I start at the beginning of the green family, which is actually a good workout because I hardly ever color with green, G05. And we're looking at this color right here. It is murky, it's muddy, it's desaturated. I don't hate it. So I'm going to set that one off to the side here that I might use that one. Next family up. So that was a G05. Is there a G15? No, but there's a G14. So this is G14 and the V17. And this one, as it's aging, I'm starting to see more of the green come through. I like the G05 better. So if it's between those two, I'm going to pick the G05. So let me set this one aside. All right, so G05, G14, is there G20 that's in that family? G24. I like G24. This is the one green that I use a lot of. Love this color. It's kind of a sagey color. Oh, and it just disappears. It's kind of down there, but it's what's above a G24? G28, Satan spit. Not going to happen there. Darn it, I like that G24. And that would make a nice leaf color. I love you, but I can't use you to this time. All right, so I think G46 is going to be too light. G46 is going to be too dark. Well, it's not as dark as I thought it would be, but it's still, I think. Isn't this like mistletoe or something? Yeah, mistletoe. It doesn't stink, but I still like that G05 best. Darn it, I wish G24 would work. I feel like I've got a best friend and I can't use it. All right, G85, which almost looks exactly like the G46. Ironically, I'm just not seeing anything in there. The G85 is pretty wimpy. So it's still these two. All right, so no to G85. G94. I use this one sometimes too. So what is this? G94. Ooh! All right, so this is G94. And I kind of like that color there. It's not too much different than the 46. All right, this is interesting. As this G05 is aging, the color in this spot is starting to look kind of bluish. And I'm not getting that in the G94. Oh, what if I did this? What if I did this? Might be able to ask my old friend to come back. All right, what if I did the underpaint with the G94, and then for the stems, I do G94, G24, the one that I want to use but isn't the right color. Woohoo! And then here's the G21. So this is 94 and then 24 and then 21. I like this. And I could put the V25 underneath the 94 when I am shading the stem. I like this. All right, so this is going to be my green combination. All right, so this is my underpaint. I'm going to put, sorry about that, G94 underneath the violet. I'm going to put the G94 underneath the violet as the underpaint. And then when I am doing the greens, I'm going to put V25 under the G94. So we're getting green under violet and then also violet under green. I like how that's kind of synchronicity there going on. All right, so I like this. All right, so this is my green blend V25 into G94, G24, G21. And then let's just demonstrate that final violet blend is going to be, oops, I got to put the green down first. Yeah, that's going to work. That's going to be nice. A little iffy about that V25. Maybe 02. Oh, yep, this is what it is going to be. All right, so the final blend here is G94 and then V17, V25, BV02, BV00. Is it 00? What is it? BV02? 00, yep, and then BV0000. This is messy, but you kind of saw how it came together. And that green is going to sit underneath that petal that's turned over there on the left. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, I can work with this. I am not nervous anymore. I got some colors that I don't mind working with. That's not a bad little blend there. It doesn't order. Yeah. This doesn't totally stink. I'm kind of geeked about this. All right, so I've got that white and I've got the process red, but let's just go ahead and look for some colored pencils. I probably want that violet pencil, and I'm sorry for not swatching these out because I just kind of know these colors really well at this point. I've been using these guys since the 1980s. So I am relying on just instinct here that the violet 932 is going to come in handy. Is that the right number? That was me by memory. Yep, violet 932. I could pull out Parma. I don't know if I might use the Parma on the top petals, because I know this is definitely violet and not purple. So what's the number on this? 1008. And then for those areas of purple, process red number 994. What else will I need? I've got the white just in case. I'm looking down here in my, see, I've got, starts off with the turquoise over here, and then I go into the blues, and then it comes into the violets, and then I end in the purples. And I just know that these guys down here are, I mean, I love Great Lavender, but it's in the purple family, not in the violet family. And I don't think they make a super light violet, so there's not even really anything I can pull out there. Let's find something that doubles over with our green. So we want a green that kind of looks like that G94, which means it's a dirty green. What does the marine look like? That's not too bad. Is there something greener and less yellowy? What is this one here? Yeah, I like that one. Okay, so kelp green. Kelp green. So I'm probably going to be taking this kelp green and using it where that petal folds over. I'll be using it on the underside there. What else do I need here? Oh, we've got the yellowy stuff. Let's get a pushing pencil for the yellow. This is probably a good time to have, I'm looking at the photo reference there. Probably a good time for that goldenrod. Where's goldenrod? What is this one? Yellow ochre. No, where's goldenrod? It's a little darker. Is this one it? Yep. And the reason why I can go ahead and use this one is because it's already got some mud in it. It's not a clean golden color. And what I'm thinking about using this for is to do some pushing on the beard, but also, let me pull that up one more time, in that zebra stripe area. See how it's yellow up at the top? And I think I can use the goldenrod up there. I did not leave myself a lot of room for the pencil area. 1034. That's a pretty good selection of pencils. What is that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus, or 5 plus white. So that's not too bad. I can grab other ones if we need it, but I think that feels like I could pack this on the road and actually color that image. Oh, I need some yellows. What am I gonna do? Let's just go 17, 13. Yeah, I could pack this up. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to just color with what I've pulled here. So I'm not going to add anything. Well, before I commit to that, let me look at the image one more time. Oh, I've got that bud on there. There's a little bud down at the bottom. And those buds usually have some brown in it. Maybe I can use the butterscotch or the goldenrod for that. Okay, I'm going to try really hard when I color these guys to stick with just what I've pulled here today. That's going to be my little challenge to myself. Can I do it? All right, so I've got just these pencils and just these markers, and I need to make sure. All right, so bud is dark violet, then green there, green with purple, check. Got the colors for the beard. The colors for there. I can come up with a background using something here. Yeah, I'm going to try and do this. I think my only question is, do I want a lighter green in the mix? Because I might need something to pull areas out, like the edges of the stems of the stem. I might need something to pull there. But I'm going to try and do it with just this. All right. We'll see. Okay, so that is our combination. So just to run through this one more time, this is G9-4, G2-4, G2-1. Okay, now that I've challenged myself, I'm going to throw the G20 in there just to complete. That way I've got, I like to do 4s because I can do this. This can be a dark blending combination with the 3 darker ones, or I can do a light blending combination with the 3 lighters. I'm already cheating on it. All right, so I've got the 9-4 and then the G20 series. So that's 2-4, 2-1, 2-0. And then my violet combination is V17, V15, BV02, BV00, and then BV quad 0, so that's 4 zeros. And then my yellows are going to be Y17, Y13, and I'll probably throw like one of these violets underneath to shade that. I've got a white, I've got goldenrod, I've got violet, I've got kelp green. I'm going to get that purple color with the processed red, and then I've, just for insurance, I've got that Parma violet there. And I think that's what I'm going to color with.